All the world's a stage, but all the men and women merely players. They have their exits and their entrances, and one man in his time plays many parts.
When I open the gift of Shakespeare, I find life. I find life in all its complexity and contradiction, in all of its beauty and dismal banality.
First the infant, mewing and puking in his nurse's arms.
And then the whining schoolboy with his satchel and his shining morning face.
Creeping like a snail unwillingly to school.
What would be different in my life without Shakespeare? I was really shy. I was so shy. And I guess it's made me more confident about myself.
And then the lover, sighing like furnace with a woeful ballad made to his mistress' eyebrow.
Then a soldier, full of strange oaths and bearded like the pard.
Jealous in honor, sudden and quick in quarrel.
I have witnessed at first hand, over and over again, the power of theater and the performing arts to shape lives, not just that, but to actually turn them around.
And then the justice, with fair round belly and good capon line.
With eyes severe, beard of formal cut.
Full of wise saws and modern instances.
My friends, basically, the way they changed their life was by dropping out of high school and getting, they went straight to work early, and now I see them and they kind of regret it.
And so he plays his part. The sixth age shifts
into the lean and slippered pantaloon.
With spectacles on nose and pouch on side.
His youthful hose well saved, a world too wide for his shrunk shank.
Last scene of all that ends this strange eventful history.
Is second childishness and mere oblivion.
Sans teeth, sans eyes.
Sans taste. Sans everything.
My favorite play is the one that I'm working on at any given moment. Every time I work on a Shakespeare play, I find myself anew.
The world would be different without live theater in the sense that actors wouldn't have anywhere to act. And audience wouldn't have somewhere to cry, somewhere to laugh, somewhere to smile, somewhere to say, I felt that before.
When I work on a Shakespeare play, it connects me. It connects me to my community.
It's weird, but I felt like I'm really connected to my mom because she's always been outgoing, and before Shakespeare, I used to be really inside my shell. I wouldn't want to do nothing. She would sign me up for things and I would never show up.
I think once I got involved in the theater, something, just a light went on in my head. And when I've returned to school and talked about this in past and whatever, there was always, it's an exponential growth rate for me personally. I don't know, it may not be for everybody, but I improved at everything once academically, grades went through the roof, sports-wise, every facet of my life was improved by this thing that I then had.
I've been through good times and bad times like any other person, but right now, the way I'm growing right now, personally, is I'm actually looking at the future right now. But for me right now, it's actually being a famous musician. I want to get an band started and actually go all the way till the end.
Aye. So goodbye to you. Now I am alone. Is it not monstrous that this player here could, but in a fiction, in a dream of passion, force his soul so to his own conceit that from his working, all his visage waned, tears in his eyes, distraction in his aspect, and his whole form, suiting with forms to this conceit, and all for nothing? For Hecuba. What's Hecuba to him, or he to Hecuba, that he should weep for her? What would he do, had he the motive and the cue for passion that I have? He would drown the stage in tears, and cleave the general ear with horrid speech, make mad the guilty and appall the free, confound the ignorant, and amaze indeed the very faculties of eyes and ears. Yet I, a dull and muddy-mettled rascal, peaked like John o' Dreams, I'm pregnant of my cause and can say nothing, no, not for a king upon whose dear life a damned defeat was made. Am I a coward? Who calls me villain? Breaks my pate across, tweaks me by the nose, gives me the lie as deep as in the throat. Who does me this? It cannot be. But I am but a pigeon-livered and lack gall to make oppression bitter, or ere this I should have fatted the region kites with this slave's awful villain. Bloody, bawdy villain. Remorseless, treacherous, lecherous, kindless villain.
Shakespeare was pivotal in my life in that as a kid, I was told, you'll never be a writer. I was told by teachers this, you'll never be a writer. And you tend to sometimes believe what teachers tell you, which could be a mistake. And I remember going to theater and reading Shakespeare and thinking to myself, this is really something that's interesting, that's engaging, and I think I'd like to try this.
I think the amazing thing about Shakespeare is that his language was so fertile.
He makes you appreciate language in a way that you never appreciated it before.
Shakespeare is the one who makes the language. That's what our language comes from too, the American language.
Well, Shakespeare to me is a little weird. I mean, here's a guy who lived in the 1600s, 400 years ago, and he's writing English that we can barely understand. It's a little weird.
When I would read Shakespeare in school, I would be like, these people are weird. I wouldn't understand really what they were talking about.
Some people won't admit it. They say, oh, it's Shakespeare.
But now that I really understand it, I guess I think about the women that are there and the men. And
Shakespeare, his words.
Shakespeare wrote in iambic pentameter. People get all, freaked out about iambic pentameter. Oh, I don't really understand it. It's so confusing. What's iambic pentameter? Dee-dum, 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 dee-dum. Shakespeare's telling you or sharing or reflecting the heartbeat of his characters and asking your heart to sync up with theirs. That's all that iambic pentameter is.
Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Thou art more lovely and more temperate. Rough winds do shake the darling buds of May, and summer's lease hath all too short a date. Sometimes too hot the eye of heaven shines, and often is his gold complexion dimmed, and every fair from fair sometimes declines by chance, or nature's changing course untrimmed. But thy eternal summer shall not fade, nor lose possession of that fair thou owest, nor shall death brag thou wanderest in his shade, when in eternal lines to time thou growest. So long as men can breathe, or eyes can see, so long lives this, and this gives life to thee.
When I, see a Shakespeare play and I experience the emotion, the drama of it, I think back really about to myself as a kid when I first went to the theater and I first had that incredible sort of transformative experience that you have connecting with art. And I understand and remember how important it was to my own life. And I want to make that available to a new generation of Americans. I mean, I can't think that our children are going to be fully educated unless art plays an important role in their education.
Working with Shakespeare has changed my life in many, many ways. I think one of the most surprising ways is that it has given me a vehicle to learn as well as teach.
When they asked me in school, like, oh, we're gonna read Shakespeare, Hamlet. So a lot of people were stuck, like, oh, I don't know what it means. And I could actually tell them, oh, what, basically Hamlet, this word means that, his dad was murdered, poisoned by his own brother. And, they'll be like, how did you understand that? I'll be like, well, because I worked with the Shakespeare company.
Just becoming involved with different type of people and their beliefs, and I would just been closed-minded because I grew up with that type of, background. they've always thought a certain thing, and it's always been that certain thing, but this has helped me to think in different ways.
What we fail to realize about Shakespeare is that Shakespeare was not merely the greatest playwright and poet of his day in England. He was also the most important figure in entertainment. You know, he was a George Lucas or Steven Spielberg.
He has an ability to go deep into the human experience and entertain you while he's doing it.
I think that there are lots of Shakespearean moments in everyday life.
One speech in it I chiefly love. 'Twas Aeneas' tale to Dido, and thereabout of it, especially when he speaks of Priam's slaughter. If it live in your memory, begin at this line. Shh.
If I had to pick a favorite line from Shakespeare, I think maybe I'd pick one from the sonnets. Bare ruined choirs, where late the sweet birds sang.
Well, I am not fair, and therefore I pray thee gods make me honest.
I must eat my dinner. This island is mine by Sycorax, my mother, which thou hast taken from me.
To sleep, perchance to dream.
Oh, for a muse of fire that would ascend the brightest heaven of invention.
If I did one good deed in all my life, I do regret it from my very soul.
Good night, sweet prince. A flight of angels sing thee to thy rest.
Well, my favorite line from Shakespeare is, life is a tale told by an idiot, full of sound and fury, signifying nothing.
Oh, Romeo. Oh, Romeo. Wherefore art thou, Romeo?
Sweet are the uses of adversity.
I will roar so that the Duke will say, let him roar again.
But break my heart, for I must hold my tongue.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful, and most wonderful, wonderful, and yet again wonderful, and after that, out of all whooping.
Yon Cassius wears a lean and hungry look.
Then should I spur, though mounted on the wind, in winged speed no motion shall I know.
Well, Shakespeare's is important because it's something that binds our heritage as an American. It's something that I think you can go up to anybody and say, you know, have you read Shakespeare or have you heard of this guy?
Can I ask you a question?
You may.
What's Shakespeare? What is Shakespeare? Poetry. You are right, sir.
I feel that the man, the artist Shakespeare, whoever he was so in tune with the dimensionality of what it is to be male and female. Isn't that amazing?
I think the value of theater, true theater, is that through performances, children can experience the multiplicity of life. They can live the life of a king. They could live the life of a queen. They can become a great hero. They can get out of their own life.
My favorite character would be myself, because I was Juliet. In real life, I'm not like her, and that's what I like doing, being somebody else that's not me. I had to act really, you could say peppy, and I'm not that type of person, so it was kind of hard for me to do that.
It uses a different part of your brain, and it allows you to get out of your, whether it's a puny little life or a life that's poor or a life that's too rich and you haven't experienced what it's like to go to the other side. It's about liberation.
Perhaps the most remarkable innovation of Shakespeare as a dramatist is that all of his women are as smart as the men. He does not have women in stereotypical roles, and I think that's one of the reasons that actresses love to do Shakespearean parts. I mean, they are, in a sense, equal on stage to the men around them, and that was not something that was taken for granted in drama before.
Gallop apace, you fiery-footed steeds, towards Phoebus' lodging. Such a wagoner's phaeton would whip you to the west and bring in cloudy night immediately. Spread thy clothes, curtain, love-performing night, that runaways' eyes may wink and Romeo leap to these arms, untalked of and unseen. Come, night. Come, Romeo, come thou day and night, for thou wilt lie upon the wings of night, whiter than new snow on a raven's back. Come, night. Come, loving, black-browed night, give me my Romeo. And when he shall die, Take him and cut him out in little stars, and he will make the face of heaven so fine that all the world will be in love with night and pay no worship to the garish sun. Oh, I've bought the mansion of a love but not possessed it, and though I am sold, not yet enjoyed.
I feel so awful for anyone who hasn't performed live theater because it's so beautiful. Like, you can feel the energy between the actor and the audience. There's something in Juliet that you will still find, so that you can always dig deeper, and I think without Shakespeare, I wouldn't do that in my own life.
I would say that one of our biggest success stories definitely is a young woman who came to us who hardly ever said anything out loud. Almost everything was closed up and angry and frustrated. She was about a week away from being initiated into a gang, but she felt like maybe she wanted to do something different in her life. So she came to us because she needed a job, really, and we hire young people to learn Shakespeare. So she didn't really love the Shakespeare idea, but she was willing to go with it. And in the course of the program, she really was able to understand herself better and understand that what she was going through in her life was not new, and that people had gotten through it before, and that she had options, she had choices, and she didn't have to make the same choices everybody else in her neighborhood.
One of the most powerful and memorable experiences I've ever had in live theater, oddly enough, was watching an elementary school kid from Hobart Elementary School in Los Angeles recite the St. Crispin's Day speech from Shakespeare's Henry V. Now, this little boy had been raised in a non-English speaking home, and as he built this magnificent speech towards its climax, I found myself weeping. And I was terribly embarrassed by this, but I noticed finally when he was over, and this was in the US Capitol, I looked around the room and everyone else was crying too.
This day is called the Feast of Crispian. He that outlives this day and comes safe home will stand on tiptoe when this day is named, and arouse him at the name of Crispian. He that shall see this day and live old age will yearly, on the vigil, feast his neighbors and say, tomorrow, Saint Crispian. Then will he strip his sleeve and show his scars. Old men forget, yet all shall be forgotten. But he'll remember with advantages what feats he did that day. Then shall our names familiar in his mouth as household words. Harry the King, Bedford and Exeter, Warwick and Talbot, Salisbury and Gloucester, be in his flowing cups freshly remembered. This story shall the good man teach his son, and Crispin Crispian shall never go by from this day to the ending of the world. But we in it shall be remembered. We few, we happy few, we band of brothers. For he today that sheds his blood with me shall be my brother, be he ne'er so vile. And gentlemen in England now abed shall think themselves accursed they were not here, and hold their manhood's cheaps, whilst any speaks that fought with us upon St. Crispian's Day!
I would have to say to anybody, even if anybody mentions the word Shakespeare, just to go for it. It might sound dorky at first, and you're like, no, but just do it. Don't listen to what others will say, because it will only hold you back from doing things that you really want to do.
I thank you, Bill Shakespeare, wherever you are.
If we shadows have offended, think but this, and all is mended.
That you have but slumbered here,
while these visions did appear.
And this weak and idle theme,
no more yielding but a dream.
Gentles, do not reprehend.
If you pardon, we will mend.
Give me your hands, if we be friends.
And Robin shall restore amends.
If we have...
I'd like to look at you, Larry, but I can't.
Ishness. It's so hard for me to say. Ishness.
And Robin shall restore amends. Let me try one more time. Still rolling? Watch this. Give me your hands, and if we be friends, and Robin amends. Period. Got it. Give me your hands, and if we be friends, and Robin shall restore amends. Give me your hands, and if we be friends, and right, and Robin shall restore amends. Okay, that's it.